Hello, chismosas y chismosos, and welcome back to Bay Area Housewife of True Crime, where I like to tell the stories of the real cucuys and lloronas of the world. And if you're wondering what that means, a cucuy or a llorona is just a Spanish term or terms for monster, in short. At part 13 on my Hans Reiser series. As a reminder, topics may be triggering. Viewer and listener discretion is very strongly advised. The people mentioned are innocent until proven guilty in court. With all that being said, grab your hot Cheetos and let's dive back into today's case. Hans Reiser took the stand against the advice of his attorneys on March 3rd of 2008. He said that Nina dropped off their kids on September 3rd of 2006 and that they discussed their divorce for about an hour. Hans said that Nina told him that she needed to go, hugged Rory goodbye, and walked out of the door, got into her minivan, drove away, and he had not seen her since. Hans said that he loved Nina, but that marrying her was a mistake. He described Nina as a great cook with the most beautiful voice. That is a quote. On the second day on the stand, Hans complained about Nina's spending, describing how a gym injury led him to sleep in cars with his feet elevated, and that the money in his fanny pack was simply payroll for his Russian programmers. On the third day, he said that marriage was, quote, altruistic in the financial sense. It's a lot cheaper to hire a housekeeper. Hans said that he threw the missing passenger seat of the Honda CRX in a dumpster near a then still open Tom's Hardware and Auto near the Bayfair Mall in San Leandro. Hans made the mistake of saying that it was near Hagenberger Road, which made several people in court that day nod their heads, myself included when I read it. As we all know, it's actually Hesperian Boulevard. On cross-examination, Hans said that on the night after Nina vanished, he and the kids took a stroll into the Oakland Hills and brought a flashlight to look for deer. By the time closing arguments began on April 15th of 2008, Nina had been missing for 591 days. On April 28th of 2008, after 3 days of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. Phil Cruz, the court clerk, read the following out loud. We, the jury, in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Hans Reiser, guilty of murder. 2 days before Hans was initially supposed to be sentenced, he got Judge Goodman's permission to be released from jail. Finally, Hans had agreed to confess to murdering Nina and led them to her body, where all this time was hidden in the Oakland Hills, less than half a mile away from his residence. Rory's drawing came to mind when they found her inside a black trash bag that was inside a duffel bag. Dr. John Burke compared Nina's dental records with those of the remains, and they were a match. Autopsy was executed by Dr. Thomas Rogers. He noticed that Nina's body was almost completely skeletonized. Nearly all the soft tissue had been decomposed. No bullets were found, and there was no sign of trauma. Her hyoid bone was still intact. The pathologist determined that too much had deteriorated for any meaningful analysis. Dr. Rogers found no evidence of incised defects or marks on the bones caused by a sharp object. The cause of death for this homicide was undetermined. On August 21st of 2008, Hans finally provided the authorities with specifics about how exactly he murdered Nina. The hour and 22-minute long confession would never be played for a jury. Hans said that Nina arrived to drop off the kids at his home at 2:20 p.m. on September 3rd of 2006. They argued upstairs while the kids remained downstairs playing video games. According to the only person alive to tell the tale, Nina then brought up what Hans described as one of Rory's fake ailments, and that caused him to become enraged. This man became so enraged that he struck her in the head. Hans said, and I quote, "I then placed my hands on both sides of her neck, and in the most unsophisticated chokehold that my judo instructor would completely despise you for ever using, I choked her." End quote.